Okay, so get this.
Yeah.
Imagine there's this like massive hidden data source
Okay.
that's like 100 times bigger than the entire public web.
Wow.
It's crazy. We're talking like medical records,
Mm-hmm.
financial data, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the deep web.
Right.
And today we're going to explore how this
Uh,
like wild idea called protected pipelines or
mm-hmm.
props could actually unlock it for machine learning,
Interesting.
but in a way that keeps your data super secure.
So what's really interesting here is that this isn't just some far-off
No.
futuristic concept.
Yeah.
We're diving into actual research excerpts from a paper called Props for Machine Learning Security
Okay.
by Ari Juels from Cornell Tech
Got it.
and Farinaz Koushanfar from UC San Diego.
Uh-huh.
They're proposing a way to build trust and privacy right into how machine learning uses data.
So to really understand why this is such a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
we need to talk about the elephant in the room,
Okay.
the data problem.
Yeah.
Machine learning, as we know, absolutely devours data,
It does.
but we're kind of hitting a wall with what's publicly available.
Right, and that's where this massive untapped potential of the deep web comes in.
Okay.
It's estimated to be 100 times larger than the surface web.
Wow.
All those Google searches, news articles,
Uh-huh.
and social media posts we see every day.
It's wild to think about all that information just sitting there locked away
Yeah.
for privacy reasons.
It makes sense, right?
Right.
You don't want your medical records just floating around out there.
Exactly.
But the problem is all that deep web data could be incredibly valuable
Yeah.
for training AI models to do amazing things like developing life-saving medical treatments
Wow.
or creating hyper-personalized financial tools.
Right.
But right now, it's just out of reach.
So that's where props come in.
Exactly.
They're like this clever workaround that lets us have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
Access all that amazing data without sacrificing privacy.
that's the core idea.
Okay.
Props are like these secure tunnels that let machine learning applications access
Deep web data
Huh?
without compromising privacy or integrity.
Yeah, okay.
Think of it as a way to borrow information without actually seeing the information itself.
Okay, that's starting to make sense.
Yeah.
But borrow is kind of a vague term.
Sure.
Can we get into some specifics here?
Yeah.
What would this actually look like in practice?
Let's take a hypothetical example.
Okay.
Imagine a company called MetaModels Inc. is working on a new AI system for diagnosing diseases.
Okay.
To make the system really accurate, they need tons of real-world patient data,
Uh-huh.
electronic health records, or EHRs.
Okay. So far, so good.
Yep.
We've got our data-hungry AI and our mountains of sensitive medical records.
Right.
Where do the props come in?
Let's say you, the listener, want to contribute your EHR to help meta models with their research.
Right.
But obviously you don't want to just hand over your entire medical history to some random company.
Hold up EHR.
Yeah.
That's electronic health record, right?
Right.
Just making sure everyone's on the same page here.
Okay.
All right, so I want to help. Yeah.
But I'm also a little freaked out about my privacy.
Sure.
What happens next?
Here's where the props magic happens.
Okay.
Meta models would give you a special app, kind of like a secure browser.
Okay.
You'd use this app to log into your healthcare provider's patient portal,
Okay.
just like you normally would.
Wait, so I'm interacting directly with my doctor's system,
Exactly.
not medi models.
Exactly. And here's the key. The app isn't downloading your whole EHR.
Okay.
Instead, it's selectively extracting the specific pieces of information MetaModels needs to train their AI.
Interesting.
Things like diagnoses, treatments, maybe lab results.
Okay.
And it does all this without your healthcare provider even knowing that MetaModels is involved.
Whoa, that's pretty slick.
Yeah.
So I'm in control the whole time and my data stays within my healthcare provider system.
Right.
But how does MediModels know they're getting accurate information?
That's a good question.
How do they know I'm not just making stuff up?
That's where the integrity part comes in.
Yeah.
Along with the data, the app also generates a prop proof,
Yeah.
a cryptographic guarantee that the data is authentic and hasn't been tampered with.
Interesting.
It's like a digital signature verifying that the information came directly from your healthcare provider system.
So MetaModels gets the data they need to train their AI, and I get to contribute to medical research without compromising my privacy.
Exactly.
That's a win-win, right?
It is.
But this all sounds a little too good to be true.
Yeah.
What's the catch?
Well,
How does any of this actually work on a technical level?
that's a great question. And to really grasp how props achieve this seemingly impossible feat, we need to take a peek under the hood at the two main technologies they rely on.
Okay.
Secure data sourcing and pinned models.
Okay, let's break that down.
Yeah,
First up, secure data sourcing.
right.
What's that all about?
It's all about guaranteeing the data entering the pipeline is the real deal.
Okay.
It's about verifying the source and authenticity of the data without actually revealing the data itself. And the exciting thing is that the building blocks for this already exist.
Oh.
We have things like privacy-preserving oracles.
Okay, oracles. Now we're getting mystical.
Right.
Can you explain what those are in plain English?
Think of a privacy-preserving oracle like
Yeah.
a super trustworthy notary.
Okay.
It can vouch for the origin and integrity of data without ever actually seeing the data itself.
How is that even possible?
It's pretty clever. These oracles leverage some seriously advanced cryptography, or special secure hardware enclaves called trusted execution environments, or TEEs.
Okay.
They can check if data truly came from a specific source without ever actually accessing the data itself.
So in our metamodels example, an oracle could confirm that my EHR data actually came from my doctor's system without anyone,
Exactly.
not even the oracle itself seeing my medical information.
Right.
That's some next level security.
It is.
Okay, so that's secure data sourcing.
Right.
What about the other piece, pinned models?
Pinned models are all about guaranteeing a specific machine learning model was used for processing the data.
Okay.
It ensures that the AI doing the analysis is exactly the one it's supposed to be, with the exact same configuration and everything.
Why is that so important?
Think about it, especially when it comes to things like medical diagnoses or
Right.
loan decisions.
Right.
You want to know exactly how that decision was reached and what model was used to make it. Pinned models help ensure transparency and make the whole process auditable.
That makes sense. But how do you actually pin a model?
Right.
Is that even technically possible?
There are a few promising approaches. One is using those TEEs we talked about earlier.
Okay.
They're becoming more common even in powerful GPUs, which is a big deal
Yeah.
for running complex AI models.
Hold on, GPU, that's a graphics processing unit, right?
Right.
The thing that makes video games look awesome.
Right. But GPUs are also really good at the kind of number crunching that AI models need. So having TEEs available on GPUs means you can run these models in a super secure environment.
Got it.
Another approach is using something called decentralized oracle networks, or DONs.
Dawns. Okay, my head is spinning a little. What are those?
DONs are basically networks of independent nodes that all work together to verify the computation.
Okay.
It's like having multiple witnesses confirm that everything happened as it should.
So if I'm understanding this right, props use a combination of secure data sourcing and pinned models
Exactly.
to create this incredibly secure pipeline for machine learning.
Right.
It's like a fortress protecting your data at every step of the way.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a second.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about privacy and security, but are there any other benefits to this props idea?
Absolutely. Remember how we talked about adversarial examples?
Yeah.
Those are like those deliberately crafted inputs designed to fool AI models.
Yeah.
Like that picture that tricks a self-driving car into thinking a stop sign is a speed limit sign. Scary stuff.
Yeah, that's a real concern as AI becomes more powerful.
It is.
So how do props help with that?
By guaranteeing the data used for training and inference is authentic and hasn't been tampered with.
Okay.
Props make it much harder for those adversarial examples to slip through.
Got it.
It's like having a built-in security check at the data level.
That's a huge relief.
Yeah,
But what about me, the user?
right.
What's in it for me besides knowing my data is safe?
Well, one of the most exciting aspects of props is the potential for user control and even data monetization.
Okay.
Remember how we discussed users applying filters to pre-process their data before sharing?
Yeah, like being able to redact sensitive information from my EHR before contributing it to medical research.
Exactly.
That level of control seems awesome.
It is.
But how does monetization fit in? Are you saying I could get paid for sharing my data?
Exactly. Imagine a scenario where you could choose exactly what data you share,
Okay.
under what conditions, and even set a price for it. It's like turning your data into an asset you can control and potentially profit from.
Wow. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that create a whole new set of challenges? Like, what if only wealthy people can afford to keep their data private?
That's a really important consideration, and it highlights why we need to have these conversations now as this technology is being developed.
Yeah.
How do we ensure fairness and prevent the creation of data monopolies? These are questions we need to address head on.
Okay, so data control and monetization are huge potential benefits.
They are.
But there's one more thing from the outline that we haven't really touched on yet.
Okay.
Decentralization. What's the connection between props and decentralization?
It's a fascinating connection. Props could play a key role in building decentralized machine learning platforms.
Okay.
Instead of having all the data and power concentrated in the hands of a few big companies,
Right.
we could have distributed networks where data providers have real ownership and control.
So instead of Google or Amazon controlling everything,
Huh.
we could have these cooperative AI systems where everyone has a stake,
Yeah,
kind of like a data democracy.
that's a great way to put it. Platforms like Oasis Sapphire are already exploring this idea.
Interesting.
They're using blockchain technology to create decentralized marketplaces for data and AI models.
Okay.
And props could be a crucial part of making these systems secure and trustworthy.
So to recap, we've got these props that not only protect privacy,
Yeah.
but also enable secure data sourcing, pinned models,
Yeah.
user control monetization, and even decentralization.
Right.
This isn't just about keeping our data safe.
No.
It's about fundamentally changing how we interact with data and who benefits from it.
Exactly.
This is big stuff.
It really is. We're talking about a potential paradigm shift in how we think about data and its role in society.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But before we get too carried away with all these amazing possibilities,
Yeah.
let's bring it back down to earth for a second. Are there any downsides or potential risks with props that we need to be aware of? I mean, no technology is perfect, right?
Right.
There have got to be some challenges or potential pitfalls we need to consider.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Props are still a relatively new concept, and there are definitely hurdles to overcome.
Like what?
For one thing, we need to make sure these prop proofs are bulletproof.
Okay.
We don't want anyone creating fake proofs
Right.
or finding ways to tamper with the system.
So it's kind of like we're building a bank vault for data,
Yeah,
and we need to make sure the locks are unpickable.
exactly.
Wow.
What else?
Right.
What other potential issues do we need to be thinking about?
Well, even with secure data sourcing,
Mm-hmm.
there's still the question of inherent biases in the data itself.
Oh, right.
If the data used to train AI models is biased,
Yeah,
the models themselves will reflect those biases,
right.
and that could lead to unfair or discriminatory outcomes.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
It's like that old saying.
garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
So how do we address that?
It's a complex issue, and there's no easy solution.
Okay.
Part of it comes down to carefully selecting and curating the data used for training,
Right.
making sure it's representative and as unbiased as possible. And then there's the ongoing work of developing techniques to detect and mitigate bias in AI models themselves.
Okay.
It's an area of active research, and it's something we need to stay vigilant about.
So it's like we need to be constantly checking our AI's blind spots,
Yeah.
making sure it's seeing the world fairly and accurately.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the technical challenges and the potential for bias.
Right.
What about the bigger picture?
Right.
How could props impact society as a whole?
That's where things get really interesting. We're potentially talking about a major power shift.
Okay.
Right now, a few giant companies control most of the world's data,
Right.
but with props, individuals could have more control over their own information and how it's used.
So we're moving away from this idea of data as something that's extracted and exploited
Right.
towards data as something that's owned and controlled by individuals.
Exactly.
That's a pretty radical shift.
It is.
But what would that world actually look like?
Imagine a world where you could selectively share your data with companies or researchers
Yeah.
in exchange for compensation or other benefits.
Okay.
Or a world where communities could pool their data to create AI models that benefit everyone,
Right.
not just a select few.
It's almost like flipping the script on the whole data economy.
Yeah,
Instead of being passive consumers, we become active participants,
right.
shaping the future of AI with our own data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as this new data economy emerges, we need to be prepared for the legal and ethical questions that will inevitably arise.
Like what?
Who's liable if a prop system fails?
Okay.
How do we prevent data discrimination?
Yeah.
How do we ensure transparency and accountability?
It's like we're entering this uncharted territory.
Right.
And we need to create a whole new set of rules and norms for how we navigate it.
Yeah.
It's exciting and a little daunting all at the same time.
It is a challenge, no doubt, but it's also an incredible opportunity to shape a future where technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Well said. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
Good.
Props are clearly much more than just a technical innovation.
Right.
They're a potential catalyst for a more equitable and empowering data future.
They are. And for our listeners out there, as you continue to explore the world of data and AI, remember this.
What's that?
Ask questions, stay informed, And most importantly, don't be afraid to demand a future where your data works for you. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.